You believe you know how your day will unfold. You believe you are at clear's throat, the mercy of the world you see, and that your power lies only in your effort and your struggle. I am here to tell you that you are wrong. There is a force within you, a silent, invisible presence that can shape your experience in a way that will shock your ordinary sense of life. We have been taught to look outside for solutions, to beg and plead for a better tomorrow. But I say to you, the kingdom is within. And there is a simple, profound act, a declaration made not to the world, but to this inner kingdom that can unlock a flow of harmony, supply, and peace so immediate it will feel like a revolution. This is not a technique of the mind. It is an acknowledgement of a spiritual truth already established. In the quiet of your morning, you will speak a word that is not a request but a recognition, and you will witness this truth become your experience. What you will discover in these moments is the concrete evidence of an invisible principle coming alive in your visible world. It requires no belief, only a willingness to be still and to know. If your heart is ready to move beyond hope and into knowing, then make this a sacred appointment. Pledge to this awakening by subscribing to this channel and seal your commitment by commenting with the numbers of whatever. Nazes, a symbol of this new beginning aligning within you. You believe your power lies in your effort, in your struggle to arrange the outer world to your liking. You wake each morning and immediately inventory your problems. The bills that demand payment, the relationships that require mending, the future that appears uncertain. You look at your bank balance and feel lack. You look at your calendar and feel anxiety. You confront the news of the world and feel fear. And from this place you begin the great labor of your day, the pushing and striving, the negotiating and worrying, all in a desperate attempt to make life conform. I tell you, this is the great illusion, the hypnotic dream that keeps you in bondage to the very conditions you seek to overcome. You are like a man standing in a vast library of limitless knowledge, yet staring only at the closed door, believing freedom lies on the other side and exhausting yourself trying to break it down, all while the key rests in your own pocket. This futile effort is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of cause and effect. We have been trained to believe that the visible world is the cause, and our experience is the effect. If the stock market falls, then I am afraid. If someone speaks harshly, then I am wounded. If the body shows a symptom, then I am sick. This is living life backwards. It is accepting the world as your master. Every moment you spend strategizing from a foundation of lack, every ounce of energy you expend fighting a problem on its own level, only deepens your conviction in the reality of that problem. You are pouring your substance, your very awareness into the mold of the difficulty, thereby snorts giving it a power it does not inherently possess. Consider how you approach a conflict. You rehearse your arguments. You anticipate their defenses. You arm yourself with logic and emotion. This entire process happens within the mental realm of conflict. And so you go into the situation already clothed in battle. And you inevitably draw forth a battlefield. You have mistaken the arena for the authority. The momentous transition we must make is from seeking power to recognizing it. Snorts. It is a shift in attention so radical it feels at first like a form of surrender. It is not. It is the ultimate act of intelligence, that force, that presence, that infinite creative medium you have been seeking in new jobs, new partners, new investments. It is not there. It is the very fabric of your own being. It is the life that animates your body, the intelligence that coordinates your heartbeat, the love that instinctively responds to a child's cry. You did not create it. You cannot lose it. You can only ignore it. Your only work is to cease ignoring it, to cease the frantic outward search and become still. Think of your own breathing. For most of your day, you are completely unaware of it. It happens. Life flows in and out. The moment you have a scare or prepare to run, you become aware of it. You may even try to control it. But its fundamental operation is an activity of a presence within you, not of your personal volitional self. The power I speak of is like that breath, constant, sustaining, ever-present. Your anxiety about a financial obligation is like gasping for air, trying to force it, terrorized by its absence. The practice is to stop gasping, to be still, to know that the life, the intelligence, and the substance that form the universe is the very same presence within you. And it is not subject to the fluctuations of the economy or the opinions of others. It is the source, not the resource. This means your starting point each day must change. You do not start from the problem. You do not start from the empty bank account, the aching body, or the lonely heart. Starting from the problem ensures you remain in its orbit. You start from the silent, knowing that there is one power, one presence, one infinite substance, and it is where you are. You stand not as a beggar at the door of God, but as the very activity of that presence in individual expression. Your declaration in the morning is not you informing God of your needs. It is you, the individual consciousness, aligning yourself with what is already and forever true in the kingdom within. It is a tuning fork striking the note of reality, so that all the dissonance of your world must eventually come into harmony with that tone. When you walk into a darkened room, you do not argue with the darkness. You do not plead with it or try to rearrange the furniture to make it less dark. You flip the switch. The light was always available, wired into the very structure of the house, waiting only for the contact to be made. Your personal struggles, your fears, your lacks. These are the furniture in the dark. Your mental arguments and strategic planning are your attempts to rearrange that furniture. It is all wasted motion. Clear's throat, the switch is within the act of recognition, the silent turning within to acknowledge thou art here is the contact, and the light that floods the room is not your personal creation. It is the natural, inevitable consequence of making the connection. The bill may still sit on the desk, but you now see it from the light. The conversation may still need to happen, but you enter it from the light. The healing may still be unfolding, but you rest in the light. From that light, solutions appear that were invisible in the gloom. Ideas flow, doors open, and a natural intelligence guides your steps in a way that effort never could. The key is to realize you are not manufacturing the current. You are simply agreeing to be the conduit through which it flows, and your entire life becomes its demonstration. To acknowledge this silent, omnipresent force already established within you is to begin the only real work there is. It is not an intellectual exercise. It is not the memorization of a lofty phrase to be repeated like a magical incantation. This acknowledgement is an act of surrender so profound it feels like the ground of your very being is shifting. You are ceasing to be the central actor in the drama of your life and becoming instead the conscious witness to a greater performance, a divine activity that has been unfolding with or without your permission. Think of a river powerful and deep flowing ceaselessly toward the ocean. You have been living as a leaf caught in an eddy at the river's edge, spinning in frantic circles, believing your tiny whirlpool is the entirety of the river, exhausting yourself trying to paddle against currents you do not understand. To acknowledge the force within is to finally release yourself from that eddy and feel the immense silent pull of the central current. You stop paddling, you let go, and in that letting go you are carried. This force is not a thing to be grasped. It is the very essence of your awareness, the I am that exists before any thought, any emotion, any circumstance. You touch it in the space between thoughts. You sense it in moments of sudden, wordless beauty, the awe that strikes you when you watch a sunset. And for an instant, you are not a person watching a sunset, but are pure seeing itself. You feel it in the surge of unexpected compassion for a stranger, a compassion that arises not from your personal history, but from a depth beyond your story. That is the force. It is the canvas upon which the picture of your life is painted. Your entire life has been spent analyzing the paint, the colors of your successes, the dark streaks of your failures, while completely ignoring the stable eternal canvas that holds it all. Your pain comes from identifying with the painted image, the portrait of you, with all its flaws and triumphs. Freedom dawns when you realize you are the canvas, untouched, unmoved, and ever present beneath every changing scene. The practical application of this is where the thrill truly begins, for it turns every mundane moment into a sacred opportunity. You are standing in a long, slow line at the market. The ordinary reaction is a simmer of irritation, a mental rehearsal of your busy schedule, a judgment of the cashier's speed. This is Clear's throat, you, the leaf, spinning in the eddy of personal impatience. The acknowledgement of the force within changes everything. In that moment, you consciously pause. You do not seek to change the line. You turn your attention inward away from the clock, and the frustration clears throat to that silent aware presence that is simply witnessing the scene. You abide there. You acknowledge this awareness that I am is undisturbed. This peace at my core is unthreatened by any external delay. You are not denying the outer fact of the line. You are shifting your allegiance from the outer fact to the inner truth. And something miraculous happens from that anchored place. A different kind of intelligence may stir. You might truly see the tired cashier and offer a genuine smile that lightens her moment. You might notice the beauty of the packaging on the shelf, or you may simply rest in a profound peace while time seems to dissolve. The line has not changed, but your experience of it has been utterly transformed because you have changed your point of origin. Take a more charged example, a moment of feeling betrayed or criticized. The personal self, the portrait, screams in outrage. It wants to defend, to retaliate, to build a case. This is the whirlpool at its most violent. To acknowledge the force within is to, in that very fiery moment, make the impossible choice to step back. You feel the heat of the emotion, but clears throat. You do not become the fire. You recognize this feeling of her. Tea is happening within the limitless space of my awareness. This awareness itself is not hurt. It is the silent witness to the pain. This is not suppression. Clears throat. It is the highest form of clarity. By giving the emotion space to be without fueling it with your identity, it loses its power to define you. And from that quiet, vast space within, a response may arise or non-response that is wise, compassionate, and free from the poison of personal reaction. You may find words of unexpected grace or the discernment to walk away without bitterness. The relationship may heal, or it may end, but the decision will come from a place of wholeness, not from a wounded fragment. This is how the invisible becomes visible. You are not waiting for a thunderbolt from heaven. You are practicing in the laboratory of your daily life. The conscious choice to reside in the canvas rather than the painting. You are tuning your instrument to the note of reality. When you do this consistently, the outer picture must, by a law as immutable as gravity, begin to conform to the inner truth. A financial worry, when met, not with frantic calculation, but with the inward acknowledgement of infinite substance as your source loses its terror. Your frantic mental calculations are like trying to paint the masterpiece with a brush made of fear. The strokes are always jagged and wrong. When you rest in the substance, the canvas itself, you allow the intelligence of life to guide the brush. An idea for a new service may dawn. An unexpected check may arrive. A wasteful expense may naturally fall away. These are not miracles in the supernatural sense. They are the natural adjustments of a universe aligning with your corrected point of view. The force within is not a genie to grant wishes for the portrait. It is the artist, the canvas, and the paint. And when you cease interfering as the anxious separate poor trait, the true masterpiece of your life can finally emerge, shocking you, not with its conformity to your small desires, but with its breathtaking expression of a harmony you could not have engineered. This recognition of spiritual truth is not an abstract philosophy to be admired from a distance. It is the most practical, concrete skill you will ever develop. Your morning declaration, therefore, clears throat, for is the pivotal act that transitions you from the chaos of the whirlpool into the silent, potent flow of the central current. Do not mistake this for an affirmation, which is often the mind's attempt to convince itself of something it fears is not true. An affirmation says, "I am prosperous," while secretly feeling lack. That is warfare on the level of the problem, a battle between opposing thoughts. The declaration I speak of is of an entirely different order. It is not a statement made by the personal you to change your conditions. It is the individual consciousness, consciously agreeing with what the infinite presence within already knows to be true. It is the echo of reality bouncing off the walls of your own awareness until the echo and the source become one sound. Think of it as the moment you stop trying to push the river and instead say, "I am in the river." You stand in the quiet of your morning before the world has imprinted its agenda upon your mind. In that sacred stillness, you are not listing your desires to the universe as if it were a forgetful servant. You are not visualizing specific outcomes, which is merely decorating the prison walls of your own limited imagination. you are doing something far more radical. You are clearing a space for the unformed, the infinite, the divine impulse to announce itself. You speak your word, not into the world of effect, but into the cause. You say, I am, that I am, or the peace of God is my identity, or infinite love is my source and my supply. But the words are secondary. The primary event is the inner posture, a complete yielding, a listening so deep that the declaration becomes a recognition of what you hear in the silence. You are not creating truth, you are aligning with it as a tuning fork, a line with a pure note. Now watch what happens when you do this. You leave your quiet space and enter your day. The old triggers will appear. The demanding email, the critical comment, the bank statement. This is the critical juncture. The old renewed mind will leap forward, ready to engage the battle on its own terms. This is where you must remember your declaration. You do not fight the fear or the anger. You do not try to replace a bad thought with a good one. You simply inwardly return to the word you spoke in the morning. You let it resonate within you. It is your anchor. You are not using it as a shield against the world. You are using it as a reminder of where your true self abides. The email is still there. The number on the statement is unchanged, but you are no longer facing it from the shaky ground of a separate, threatened self. You are facing it from the fortress of your declared identity. From this position, your actions are not reactions, they are expressions. Consider a day where you declare, divine intelligence governs my every step. You then go into a business meeting where a complex problem arises. The old pattern would be strain, the frantic searching of memory, the fear of appearing foolish, the pressure to perform. But today, you have declared a different source. So in the moment of tension, you consciously take a breath and inwardly rest on that declaration. You let go of the need to know the answer from your personal storehouse. You become quiet inside the meeting. And from that quiet, an idea may surface, an idea that connects disparate facts in a novel way, or a question that illuminates the core issue. This idea feels given, not manufactured. It flows. This is divine intelligence demonstrating itself. You did not create the idea. You provided a conduit for it by aligning your consciousness with its source. The meeting's outcome may shift or it may not, but you have experienced the proof of principle, and that experience is more valuable than any single victory. Or take a declaration of wholeness. The perfect life of God is my life now. Later you feel the first twinge of a headache or a wave of fatigue. The instinct is to immediately claim it as your own, to start diagnosing and worrying. But your declaration stands. Instead of diving into the sensation with fear, you turn inward to the truth you acknowledged. You silently bear witness to the sensation while simultaneously knowing it is not the truth of your declared being. You do not argue with the pain. You surround it with the greater acknowledgement of life. You might find the sensation dissolves not because you fought it, but because you stopped giving it the substance of your belief. Or you might be guided to rest or drink water, but the action will come from a place of intelligent care, not panic. The outer circumstance becomes a classroom for demonstrating the inner reality. This is how the bridge is built between the unseen kingdom and the visible world of your kitchen, your office, your relationships. Each declaration is a stone laid on that bridge. Each time you return to it in the face of contradiction, you strengthen it. The results begin to accumulate not as isolated miracles, but as a consistent atmosphere of your life. You will notice a strange coherence appearing. The right person calls at the right moment. A resource you need comes to your attention effortlessly. A conflict softens without your forceful intervention. These are the shocking results. They are shocking because they were not engineered by your personal will. They are the natural harmonies that emerge when the noise of the separate self is stilled. The declaration does not work like a button you press to get a reward. It works by gently, insistently correcting your point of view until you are seeing from the source. And the world you see cannot help but reflect that source back to you. You are not changing the world. You are changing the eye with which you see it. And in that change, everything is transformed. This witness you become is not passive. It is the most dynamic state of being imaginable, for it is the point at which the formless takes form. To witness this inner acknowledgement manifest as concrete, visible experience is to watch the invisible become visible, not through force, but through a natural law as reliable as gravity. You are not building a new world with your hands. You are allowing the world that already exists in spiritual truth to come into focus. Much like a photographer adjusting the lens until the blurred image snaps into perfect clarity, your doubts will scream that this is mere coincidence, a trick of the mind. But as you persist, the coincidences will stack into a pattern so undeniable it will shake the very foundations of your old understanding. The divine is not erratic, it is mathematical in its precision. When you align your consciousness with the principle of harmony, harmony must appear. When you align with the truth of supply, supply must find its way to you. It is not a reward for good behavior. It is the inevitable consequence of correct alignment. Consider how a seed operates. You plant it in the soil. You do not dig it up daily to check for roots. You do not beg it to grow. You provide the conditions, soil, water, light, and you trust the innate intelligence within the seed to do the rest. Your declaration in the MO, RNing, is the planting the rest of your day. You are providing the condition of your trust by constantly returning your attention to that inner truth, not to the barren appearance of the soil. The manifestation is the sprouting, the leaf, the flower. You cannot see the intricate cellular division underground, but you trust the process. One morning you see the green shoot break the surface. That is your demonstration. It is shocking because while you intellectually knew the seed contained a plant, to see it actualized before your eyes is always a minor miracle. Your financial need, your relational longing, your quest for purpose. These are all seeds you are planting in the fertile soil of the kingdom within. Shocking result is simply the inevitable bloom. Let us walk through a practical week. You declare, I live in the atmosphere of divine grace. You go about your tasks holding this not as a hope, but as an acknowledged reality within. On Tuesday, you make a foolish mistake at work. The old pattern of self-condemnation and anxiety about consequences rises. But you remember your atmosphere. Instead of spiraling into fear, you pause. You acknowledge that grace is your atmosphere even here, even now. You might take corrective action, but you do it from a feeling of being upheld, not from a panic of being exposed. The boss's response is unexpectedly understanding. A colleague offers help without being asked. This is grace manifesting in visible form. It is not that you manipulated your boss. It is that you ceased broadcasting the vibration of fear and shame, and thus you no longer attracted responses based on those energies. The universe responded to your corrected frequency. Or you declare, I am a transparency for infinite love. You then attend a strained family gathering. A relative makes a pointed, hurtful comment. The old you would have absorbed the poison, internalize, it, and either retaliated or retreated wounded. But today, you are conscious of being a transparency. You feel the sting, but you instantly look through it to the truth you declared. You see perhaps for the first time the fear and pain in the relative that prompted the remark. Instead of a personal attack, it becomes a cry for love. Your response is not defensive. It might be a simple quiet smile, or a change of subject, or a genuine question about their clear's throat well-being. The energy in the room shifts. The tension dissipates not because you want an argument, but because you refuse to become a solid object for the conflict to strike. You remain transparent, and love clears throat, which is always present, flowed through that transparency, disarming the situation. The concrete experience was a peaceful afternoon where chaos was expected. These demonstrations are not grandiose. They are quiet, personal, and deeply clears throat convincing. You will find yourself in a traffic jam declaring peace and suddenly noticing the beauty of the skyline. You will be searching for a lost item. Stop your frantic searching. Acknowledge the omnipresent intelligence within and find your hand guided directly to it. These are not trivialities. They are the divine intelligence whispering to you in the language of daily life, proving its presence and its care. Each one is a brick in the temple of your unshakable faith. You begin to see that the outer world is not a fixed hostile place, but a fluid responsive one. It is a mirror, and for most of your life, you have been making faces at it, horrified by the reflection. The practice of declaration stops the grimacing, clears throat. It allows your face, your true face of peace and dominion, to relax into its natural expression. and the mirror, obeying its nature, has no choice but to reflect that back to you. The shocking speed of this transformation lies in its simplicity. You are not adding a new burden of spiritual practice. You are dropping the immense burden of thinking you are the source and solver of everything. You are relinquishing the exhausting role of being the general manager of the universe. When you stop interfering, the true manager can operate. Ideas will come with ease. Energy will be given for what needs to be done. People will appear as helpers. Obstacles will dissolve not because you smashed them, but because your path simply curves around them. A path you could not see from the limited view of your personal will. You are not making the demonstration happen. You are allowing it by getting your conscious awareness out of the way and letting the infinite flow through the channel you have prepared by your acknowledgement. The results are shocking because they reveal a universe that is fundamentally friendly, profoundly intelligent, and intimately responsive to the quality of your own consciousness. You are not at its mercy. You are in the most sacred sense, its very heart, beating out a rhythm to which it joyfully dances. This immutable spiritual principle is the bedrock upon which every demonstration stands, and to understand it is to move from hoping to knowing. It is not a vague, wishful concept of a higher power that sometimes intervenes. It is a law clear as throat, as precise and impersonal as the principle of mathematics. 2 + 2 = 4. Regardless of your mood, your faith, or your personal history, gravity operates whether you believe in it or not. In the same way, this spiritual principle states that consciousness is the only cause and experience is its perfect mathematical effect. Your outer world is not a random collection of events happening to you. It is a perfectly accurate projection of your inner conscious state. To believe you are a separate vulnerable self at the mercy of external powers is to invoke the experience of that belief. To know yourself as the very expression of the one infinite life is to invoke the experience of that knowledge. The principle does not judge. It simply automatically manifests the quality of the consciousness you entertain. This is why it is not a mental technique. A technique is something the personal self employs to achieve a desired end. It is still operating on the level of the problem using a subtler tool. You cannot use this principle. You can only yield to it, agree with it, and allow it to use you. Think of electricity. You do not electricity by willing the electrons to flow. You learn the principle. You construct a proper circuit. You ensure conductivity. You flip the switch. The electricity, obeying its own nature, flows and produces light. Your anxious mental affirmations are like standing in a dark room, waving a dead battery and shouting light. You are using the symbol but missing the principle. The principle requires a complete circuit, and that circuit is the surrender of the personal I as the door. You are the conduit, not the source. Your declaration in the morning is the act of completing the circuit within your own awareness, connecting your individual sense of being to the infinite source. From that moment, the current flows. Your only job is to maintain the conductivity by not inserting the insulation of fear, doubt, and personal will. Let this become concrete in your daily awareness. You are faced with a situation that appears as a solid wall, a health diagnosis, a broken relationship, a career impasse. The mind trained in techniques immediately starts to work. It will try to visualize the wall gone. It will repeat, I am healthy, I am loved, I am successful, while secretly feeling the imposing presence of the wall. This creates a war within you, a conflict between your desire and your belief. It is a short circuit. The principle knows nothing of walls. It only knows the quality of the consciousness you are holding. So you must do something that feels counterintuitive. You must stop fighting the wall. You turn your full attention away from the problem as a solid thing and you turn it to the principle itself. You become still. You acknowledge there is one life. That life is God. That life is my life. Now you are not saying this to the wall. You are stating the principle of being. Clear as throat, you are aligning with the truth that snorts. Any appearance of sickness, lack, or discord is a misperception. A shadow cast by clear as throat, your temporary belief in separation from source. You abide in that knowing. Then you watch. You do not watch for the wall to crumble. You watch your own consciousness. You guard it against the old reactions. When fear about the diagnosis arises, you do not entertain it. You gently return to the principle. One life, perfect, whole. You are not denying the feeling, you are placing it within the greater context of truth. This is the maintenance of conductivity, and as you do this, something begins to shift. It may start internally. A deep, unexplainable peace descends upon you regarding the situation. This peace is the first evidence, the light in the circuit coming on. Then from that peace an impulse may arise to call a specific doctor, to write a letter of amends, to take a new course. This impulse feels quiet, clear, and without the frenzy of personal anxiety. You follow it. That action taken from alignment has a power that years of striving did not. It opens a new path. The wall may dissolve, or you may find a gate in it you never saw, or you may be lifted entirely over it. The outcome is not your concern. Your concern is your fidelity to the principle. The principle handles the form. This explains why two people can declare the same words with wildly different results. One is using them as a technique, a mantra to bend reality to their will, and the friction of that personal will blocks the flow. The other speaks them as a humble acknowledgement of what is already eternally true, and in that surrender, the circuit is complete. The thrill is in becoming a scientist of your own soul, conducting this experiment under every condition. When someone insults you, the immediate unprincipled reaction is to feel hurt and retaliate. The experiment is to pause and know the consciousness I am is untouched by this. The one infinite life is expressing itself there and here. From that calm center, your response or lack thereof becomes an expression of the principle, not a violation of it. You will see the insult lose its power, fizzle out snorts because you refuse to give it the substance of your belief. This is a demonstration. It may seem small, but it is a perfect, reproducible experiment proving the law. Each time you choose the principle over the reaction, you strengthen the muscle of your faith. You are not waiting for a big dramatic miracle. You are collecting 1,000 tiny irrefutable proofs in the laboratory of your daily life until your trust in the principle becomes unshakable. Then when the larger challenges come, you are not applying a technique in desperation. You are resting on a law you have proven to yourself time and again. You know with a certainty deeper than intellect that the current is flowing. The light may not yet be visible to the outer eye, but you can feel the hum of the transformer in your soul. And you know beyond all doubt that illumination is its inevitable, natural, and shocking result. This inevitable result is not a future promise. It is the present activity of reality adjusting itself to your corrected vision. Your demonstration is not something you be, but something you witness unfolding from the inside out, as natural and unmistakable as the dawn following the night. You have spent a lifetime believing you must construct your good through effort, like a builder hauling stones to erect a wall. Now you are being asked to understand that you are the sun, and your demonstration is the simple, effortless act Clear's throat of shining. The wall you are trying to build is already present in the landscape, waiting only for the light of your understanding to reveal it. The frustration you, Clear's throat, have known is the frustration of the sun trying to be a bricklayer. When you cease the labor of the personal self and abide as the light of pure awareness, everything necessary for your fulfillment is illuminated not as a reward, but as the landscape that was there all along, unseen in the darkness of misidentification. This alignment with inner reality is not a static state, but a dynamic moment-by-moment communion. Think of a master musician and their instrument. For years you have been trying to play a complex sonata by hacking at the strings with your bare hands, creating only noise and pain. The principle taught you the scales, the law of consciousness as cause. Your daily declaration was the act of tuning the instrument to perfect pitch. Now, as you maintain this tuning, you are not playing the music. You are allowing the music to play itself through you. The master musician does not force each note. They have so united with the score and the instrument that the music flows as a single harmonious expression. Your life becomes that decisions are not made through agonizing pros and cons. They arise as the next clear note in the melody. An opportunity presents itself, and you know with a certainty that bypasses logic whether it is your note to play or not. Relationships either harmonize with your key or they natural. Why fall away not through drama, but through irrelevance to the song being sung through you. Witness this in the most practical areas. You have aligned with the inner reality of divine supply. You are no longer laboring under the consciousness of lack of not enough. You are abiding in the knowing of infinite source. Now you go to pay your bills. The old consciousness would have felt a pang of depletion with Clear's throat each check written, a subtle fear of the diminishing number. But from your aligned state, you write the Clear's throat checks from a completely different awareness. You see yourself not as a dwindling reservoir, but as a clear channel. You know the funds are not your personal possession, but a temporary form of the infinite substance flowing to you and through you to fulfill its purpose. As you do this, you may find a check you forgot about arrives in the mail. An old debt is repaid unexpectedly. A new client appears without promotion. These are not miraculous interruptions. They are the natural adjustments of the outer picture to match your inner truth of flow. You did not attract them through mental gymnastics. You simply stopped blocking them with your belief in scarcity, and the ever-present river of supply found its way to your doorstep. Or consider health not as a condition of the body, but as the outer expression of the inner truth of wholeness. You have aligned with the reality that the one perfect life is your life.